You're a little bit frenetic, aren't you, at the moment?
Am I?
A little bit agitated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit more now. Nothing like people pointing your fucking foibles out, is there?
Thank you for your judgment. Yeah, the course is going well, Mark.
Hello and welcome to episode 34 of I'm Fine. Just had a panic. Is that 34?
I'm guessing it is, yeah.
Okay, let's go with it. A chat between myself, Damo, and Bristol's newest artist, Marksy. I've got up myself. This is the chat around the subjects of health, wealth, well-being, fitness, sports, and inflatable tanks being used as metaphors for feeling all empty and emotional and vulnerable inside. It's more like that in a minute. We're all work in progress, and this podcast is no exception. In short, it's a poke at our perfectly imperfect lives. And if we can make just one person feel like they're not alone in all this madness, then our work here is done. Now, if you haven't subscribed to us in your favourite podcasting app, then please do so. And if you have a spare moment, then please do leave us a 5-star rating and or review on Apple Podcasts. If you don't want to do that and you're fortunate to have a friend or two, then please tell them about us. Send them a link or just hit play and hold it to their ears until they subscribe. It's all about action. That's kind of activism, really, isn't it? But why not?
Do it.
Yeah, they won't mind. Coming up, warm up and stretch. Bookmarks, pickups from the last episode in work-life ballet. What is an empath? Ooh,
not someone who tells you you're frenetic and agitated
before you start a podcast.
Yeah.
Brain food, a continuation of now year's resolutions and not now year's resolute. That's really hard to say. It's good, but it's hard to say.
Yeah. And you've got a couple of things that I don't know that you're going to throw at me.
Plenty.
Okay. Horseshoes. That's not shoes from a whore.
It always used to be in karting. A horseshoe. A horse slipper.
Like Cinderella. Also, and I know I've mentioned this before, you know when he goes round
afterwards... Please don't be another prostitute reference. Please don't be another prostitute. Okay,
you know when he goes round afterwards?
Who?
Prince Charming with Adamant.
What? You haven't... I can't read your mind.
Okay. In Cinderella, the story,
right?
She goes to the ball.
Yes.
To race home before she gets turned back into
Cinderella.
She rushes and the slipper falls off.
Yes, that's right. Okay, yeah.
So Prince Charming was a reference to Adamant because one of Adamant's songs was Prince Charming. Everybody, everyone was singing. So what happened was,
not that young.
What happened?
I'm a child of the 80s, remember?
Yeah, that's true.
You're right.
That felt like an electric shock.
Did you? Oh, I haven't had this pat tested. It could well be dodgy. Don't get too close to it.
You could get sued on that.
I'll just tuck that exposed wire back in. If it touches your chin or a filling.
Yeah, but I got both feet in buckets of water. I'm going to stop doing that in the pod. It's more dangerous now. I've got a story about that. I will tell you this story. Not now. Anyway, so Prince Charming. Why am I saying it like that? Prince Charming. He...
slipper. He picked the slipper.
So he picked the slipper.
Well, he picked a glass. Wasn't it a glass?
I think it was called a glass slipper.
Okay.
But it was a shoe.
But it wasn't your moccasin, was it?
Yeah. So then goes round. I don't even know what the town was called that Cinderella lived in. It's like lacking in detail, isn't it? Anyway, so he went round all the houses in the neighbourhood to see whosoever this doth fit. And it only fitteth Cinderella.
The
foot that it had just fallen off. Not such quite a good fit. That's it. If it's the only one that fits perfectly, why did it fall off?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm able
Did she trip though, didn't she? And went, in the film when they're at the end, just to cause a bit of jeopardy and excitement, they just go, fall over.
That's just to bring in a bit of realism.
Yeah.
Because the same argument had been obviously used by the director, by Tarantino or whatever, going...
I'm just saying, if I was to lose a shoe and someone was to go around this neighbourhood, I think the chances are they'd find someone else that fits before they got to me.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not the only size 10 in the street.
No. She wasn't a size 10 though, was she?
No, I don't think
that's what he found attractive about her. That's probably it. She had size 10 feet. That's why she was the only one that fitted.
Yeah, massive feet.
Except the ugly sisters. They must have had big ones.
What, feet?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, God. I don't know where we go in with this. Would you want to do your electrocution story?
No, because it's a bit morbid, actually. I'll drop it in some other time.
It
just reminded me of the story.
What, when we're getting too high?
It's a friend got electrocuted, but it's a long story.
I just want to know. I want to know. I laugh at things like, is he all right? Or did he die?
He didn't die, but he was... We'll leave the story. It's a very long story.
Is it a bit dark, is it?
It's a bit dark for minute 4.
Okay, sure.
We've managed to get prostitutes and fairy tales. We're not going to go to torture.
Oh, is it torture?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. No, I don't want that.
No.
Oh, when you say that...
Come on, quick. Unicorns.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. Quite bubbly.
Yeah, you seem it. It's good.
Yeah. How are you?
All right.
Okay. Good.
Better than I was in the last episode. On the subject of the last episode, we were dying, weren't we? for different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to the end, as people would have listened. The highlight for me was what you said at the end, it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And it felt like a good example. And felt like it wrapped up nicely. And I think it shows that what you're feeling on the inside doesn't always amplify out onto anyone else.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is a bit of a takeaway straight away in this episode in terms of, to us, what we were saying wasn't necessarily representing what we were feeling inside. Although, whilst we were both talking, whilst we were in our own skin, there's all sorts of carnage going on, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
and that's
exactly.
that's a metaphor for life as well as, well, this is life. This podcast isn't not life.
No.
Of course, I was terrified of going back to the edit, and I put it off, and I edited it Thursday night.
Yes, I was going to say.
It was all a bit late, wasn't it?
You said to me on Wednesday, I'm going to edit this tomorrow, and I thought, there's only one day left to edit it.
Yeah. I was really worried about going back to it, because we got to the end of just like, oh my God.
I know.
We were thinking about re-recording it, and
I was thinking getting a new person to do the podcast, but you got all the equipment. It's like when you've got the football.
That is savage. That is savage.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Robbie Savage.
Well, glad you kind of came round.
Yeah.
Literally, you know.
I just exactly what you said, 100% agree with it, but it also works the other way in that both you and I know that people will go, God, you sounded jolly, or God, you sounded this, you sounded that. And you don't want to go, no, I wasn't jolly, or that it was a front.
Yes.
But what we're saying on this is a little bit like Lorraine Kelly to me, if you think about it.
I'm thinking hard, but not getting there.
You know, little lovely Lorraine Kelly.
Yeah.
You know, she...
Surely her height has nothing to do with this, Mark. I think it's well known she's of a certain...
No, because that's how she's...
Don't be all...
I'm not going to be all defensive, because certain people, by law, you have to use a descriptive word before them. You know this.
Go on.
Well, fill in the blank. Sam Allardyce.
Big Sam.
Yeah.
By law.
It's law.
I was thinking, right, okay.
So
it's your law, you mean?
The lovely. Okay, I'll go the lovely little Lorraine.
Can't help yourself, can you?
No. So I'll give you some more as we go through this.
Oh, Kylie's a pocket rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which of the following are national treasures?
Yeah.
Not Philip Schofield.
No.
It's so hard, isn't it? Where were we?
Little Lorraine Kelly.
Oh, yeah. So you know Lorraine Kelly went to HMRC.
No.
She went to HMRC to say that when she does her chat show, she's an actor.
Oh, yes.
Not little lovely Lorraine Kelly.
Yeah.
She's acting that part. And there was different...
Was this a tax?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a tax dodge. It was a tax... If you can prove that, you're an actor, there's some... I think it's something... And
do you remember what the benefit was or what the gain was?
I think it was something around her agent. I've got a feeling, I might be completely wrong on this, I think it gives you... if you're an actor, you're allowed to have an agent that's tax deductible or something like that.
Okay.
So there's a tax advantage by being called an actor rather than...
a TV presenter.
Yeah.
Right.
And she got out of that. And the point I'm making, in a very succinct manner, is that there is a big degree of acting in this, in the same way that I've said to you, being a PT has a big degree of acting, or therapist, or whatever.
I know what you mean. I wouldn't go as far to say we're acting, but I think, and I've been thinking about the last episode, and I've listened to it a few times, and it's weirdly one of my favourite ones now, which is a million miles away from where we're feeling on Tuesday night. I'm
not quite there yet.
No, but I think it not necessarily, if it just standalone, it's probably not my favourite, just for where we were, where we felt, and what it came out. It's kind of up there for different reasons. I was going to kind of say that it's kind of amazing what can happen if you kind of dig deep.
Yeah.
At least we kind of turned up and did it and hit record. And did something.
Instead of coming through the door and going, actually, I'm not up for this. I think that's the point I'm saying about acting. It's acting in a way that you have to raise yourself to be able to physically speak for an hour.
Yeah, but I think that's the kind of point I wanted to make, that I don't feel I was.
But you were speaking. I didn't want to speak for that hour.
But I didn't. None of us wanted to be there. of course we want to do it, but
yeah,
you know,
and
we could have easily found an excuse to go, should we just bin this off?
Yeah.
And it only took, you know, not the other person wouldn't have protested.
No, and the three people that have listened to it have all enjoyed it. That was great, wasn't it, with the listening figures?
Yeah,
you and I.
Yeah, because all the stats were just tanked, hadn't they?
Yeah.
At the time, we did a really bad pod, and we're like, oh, that didn't help, did it? Didn't help the ego.
No.
And then I came out of I walked into training.
How often do you go refresh?
Yeah, and nothing was happening. Before I trained with you, it was like, there's nothing happening. We're a little bit down about that.
Yeah.
We come out of training, bosh, another 30, 40 listens. You're like, oh God, lifesaver, right? How weird's that? I didn't sit there. I think that was the worry. I thought it was, you know, you're going to play it back and we would have sounded morose. But I think we sounded a lot brighter than we certainly felt. But I think that comes from the confidence of us, you know, a little bit of the muscle memory thing. We've got more confidence. And we just got on with it and we did. And we just ended up chatting and it was good. What I felt was nice about it is I had a nicer pace. So I've actually learned that we can slow it down a little bit.
Exactly. Both
I
of
realised
us are
how much
speaking slower.
Yeah. There was a couple of times where I was actually speaking really fast. I thought, and it just made me think, oh, it's much nicer when, you know, I'd kind of a fatigue and just general emotional state just naturally slowed us down. And it was actually a lot nicer. We went back to more of our soporific beginnings, didn't we?
Yeah. Kelly will be falling asleep again at last.
Finally get some sleep. So just back on the acting, I don't think we necessarily act because that feels.
I didn't mean act as in force.
I know, but I think there's just a kind of a general, which is kind of the enjoyment of doing it. It kind of kicks in, doesn't it? And just us having a chat, and it becomes quite a nice thing to do. And it's good that we can feel better than we did before just by doing this. Yeah, regardless of whether we think it's a good episode.
Cathartic, didn't I, a while ago? And I think that's true.
I started thinking about vulnerability.
Yeah,
just did a little bit of scouting around. I found a talk from Dr. Brené Brown. And she did a TED.
I know. Yeah.
Have
I listened to her podcasts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm now aware of her, which is great.
Yeah. I've been listening for a while.
Type in vulnerability because you type it vulnerable. You know what I mean?
I'll get a friend to do it.
How do you spell it? Oh, just I'll do it.
Move over.
I wasn't aware of her. She did a TED talk.
Yes.
Well, it's good. That's good.
That we touched base without even knowing it.
Yeah. I flicked through it, so I need to give it a proper watch. But she described the ways in which we try to sidestep the shaky feeling of vulnerability. We emotionally armor up each morning when we face the day to avoid feeling shame, anxiety, uncertainty, and fear.
Yeah.
The particular armor changes from person to person, but it usually revolves around one of three methods: striving for perfection, numbing out, or disrupting joyful moments by, in quotes, dress rehearsing tragedy.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great.
Yeah.
And imagining all the ways where things could go wrong.
That was the discussion we had before we started this, and I mentioned the term time travel.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things that's coming up on the course a lot, is that exactly what you were saying there, dress rehearsing anxiety, is putting yourself forward in time to something that has never taken place, may never taken place.
Yeah.
But it's when thoughts become facts.
Yeah.
So I now think, in 3 hours' time, this is going to be the conclusion of X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, neural pathway thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
That kind of...
And it doesn't even always have to be pessimistic, but it's almost like somehow, because I'm thinking this, it's real.
Yeah.
It isn't, it's a thought.
Yeah.
It isn't.
I don't know if I've used this before, but Tiger Woods always pops up in my head. Because he talks about his putting.
Yeah.
What is it? Drive for show, putt for dough, as they say in golf. So his putting was amazing. That's pretty much what won him all the... Someone asked him, so what is your method for putting? And he says, well, I visualize it. I paint the pit and I putt to the picture.
Yes.
So he visualizes and he just follows it through. And it's a very, very, very simple thing. And that's been applied to lots of sports, hasn't it? And so what
also
you've just said reminds me.
On muscle mass, you can actually, they've shown on visualization when you're lifting and putting on, that you can actually put on muscle mass through, it's a tiny, tiny percentage, but through visualization.
Okay.
That it sets things up. And we've
does that give you an extra few percent?
Well, it's like minimal.
You don't think about it,
just think hard enough and you'll be...
I feel big already.
But I think it's also the bit that we were saying about the brain controlling the body and then the body giving stuff back to the brain. And I think it's that interaction. I was actually listening to that this morning when someone said, there is actually research that similar thing.
She talks about about worthiness and how worthy or not you feel about various aspects of our lives, our emotions, sense of value to ourselves, connection with others, belonging, etc. Due to the lack of this is what we cover. Due to the lack of conversation and discourse.
Yes.
In life.
Yes.
We see the one side or the other, the black or the white.
Yeah.
And if we're not any one of those things, we instantly feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
Probably fear of missing out as well is a big part of that. And she says, you can't numb those hard feelings without numbing the other effects, our emotions. You cannot selectively numb. We've talked about emotional numbing. We haven't got into it big time, have we? But so when we numb those, we numb joy, we numb gratitude, we numb happiness, and then we are miserable and we are looking for purpose and meaning, and then we feel vulnerable. So then we have a couple of beers and a banana nut muffin, and this becomes a dangerous cycle.
Yeah.
The last, which I think is probably the most important, is to believe that we're enough. Because when we work from a place, I believe, that says I'm enough, we then stop screaming and start listening. We're kinder and gentler to the people around us, and we're kinder and gentler to ourselves.
Yeah.
And it kind of sums up where we kind of were on the last pod, really.
Yeah. It's well known that in order to have compassion for others, you have to have compassion for yourself.
Yeah. A couple of pickups on creativity. It's getting dark in here now already. Don't know why I
do you know what that reminds me of?
What? Getting dark in here, my stupid West Country accent.
No. Oh, West Country. That situation. So the situation now where people come into a room and go, oh, it's dark on here, and put the light on. Do you get that sometimes?
Don't even start me.
You know where I'm coming from?
Oh, yeah. I've got a whole bit about light sensitivity in a minute.
Oh, okay. It's like I'm
getting all sweaty.
It's like
I thought of someone coming in and just putting the light on. Literally, my palms have gone sweaty.
But it's the should, isn't it? You should have light in here.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be sitting in the dark. But
you
does
act like a mole.
Yeah. Why are you sitting in the dark? No, I don't have to tell you why I'm sitting in the dark. Like, why are you putting the light on?
Why am I now sitting in the light?
Yeah.
When I didn't want to. Don't get me started.
I didn't know that went with you. I don't know.
Yeah.
We have one or two things in common, I reckon.
Yeah. We kind of established that our views on creativity were different, which I thought was cool.
Yeah. Again, right and wrong.
You don't have to be able to draw something that looks like anything to be an artist.
No.
I wouldn't go as far as to say that we're artists producing this, but a little bit.
We'll let the awards speak for themselves.
Or the lack of.
Best newcomer.
And to be able to express yourself and say something about something to the world is good. And I think it's okay we kind of established it's okay to keep creativity to yourself. But if you can expose yourself, so to speak, and share it whilst being able to take some criticism, there is another level of fulfillment, affirmation, and learning to be found out there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Through the pain of being criticised, as we touched on last week with your post and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That you can get stuff out of it.
I think I've posted much this week, have I?
Do you feel better for it?
Well, for not posting. Oh, this was what I was going to post. Can I read out what I was going to post today?
Can I put a light on? A soft light, an up lighter.
Yeah, go on then.
Some gentle
light. Up lighter's fine while I find this. There's no greater sense of hopelessness than when the spatula is lodged in such a way that it prevents your kitchen drawer from opening. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
It's so good, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we still keep it in there.
Yeah.
It happens on numerous occasions, but we don't put the spatula in there.
You don't move it, but what you do, you put it back and you push the drawer back in. You can feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel it do that catch. So you know.
Yeah, and then you go like that with the drawer.
Don't worry about that next time.
But how does it actually get up there? I guess it's like wires to your charger and your phone and stuff like that, isn't it? They wrap themselves up at night like in Toy Story.
Law of the Sod, is it that one? You didn't think you were successful. I was thinking about this in the car today. There's a lot of thinking in the car. On the toilet or the car, I've realised is where I do my thinking. I kind of bring that up at work sometimes, maybe inappropriately, but if I need to just go and have a little...
If you're in the toilet and you call some staff in, I've had a thought.
Emergency,
You're going to have a meeting.
Is that weird? Or is that right? I mean, it's effective. Talking about effectivity.
Yeah. But 8's a squeeze, isn't it?
It's always a squeeze. But anyway...
me not being considering myself successful.
Yeah, and your response is kind of was sitting with me. Now we haven't got into personality types.
Yeah,
but that's why I kind of said to you just before we started recording about your personality type.
Yeah, which you sent me the thing to do.
Yeah, and you're okay saying what you did with it?
Yeah, of course. So I did it.
Yeah,
because you said you were a whatever, and I said I'll do it.
Yeah, I was interested to see what you came out as.
And then I didn't agree with the findings, so I deleted it.
Yeah. You did.
So
I said, are you just going to keep doing it until you find something you like?
I knew what they were getting at the question, so I answered it in a way to get the right result. But I guess with your personality, there isn't a right or wrong.
Hold on. So, that's what you did. You didn't just answer. Right, this is a different level. So you didn't just answer the questions and go, I don't like the result.
No.
You went, what are you trying to say? You actually went.
I was second guessing what they were going for. Yeah.
Just a little thing. The Myers-Briggs isn't a competition.
Well,
it doesn't go, congratulations, you're an INTJ. You know what I mean? It's and you are better than everybody else.
There isn't the best personality type.
No, there isn't.
Okay.
Does that change your view?
I just did.
Only because that. Right.
I'll do it again.
The reason I bring this up is because I think some of the things you say, I go, oh my god, that's just like me.
Mm.
You know, and the rest of the stuff is like, why do we even hang out?
You crazy.
Yeah, but you going, because listen, but it was your response, and what people don't see is there's a face to that response as well, and it
around the success.
But I see you as successful.
The situation with this person who's called Sam Delaney is that I think there's an element of gradation, and so I think I get some satisfaction listening to him in terms of him recalling his past life, and I love the things he's done and the things He was talking the other day, he did one of the first magazines that I think basically had a CD or a DVD on the cover.
Right.
And he's been in a lot of things. He was in Russia. He was doing Russia Today, which is the
RT Net News Network.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. It's the biggest news network in the world, isn't it?
I watched it in Moscow, and you're like sitting in Russia, and like some of the biases and some of the stuff in there is like fantastic to watch.
When Nina Schick talks about RT.
Yeah,
and how massive, and actually how much she was praising it.
Yeah,
but like all these things, they've become a behemoth.
Behemoth. So yeah, I think in terms of success, there was things that he had done that would be aspirational to me.
Okay.
He also seems to have a never-ending range of anecdotes that are just one level above mine. No, there are lots of. So
there's a little bit of competition. So that's a good story. That's probably I have one that's close, but you don't feel like it.
So what you said, have I ever edited a magazine? I haven't as such. I've like I said, I've done pamphlets, and the pamphlet was a satirical pamphlet that ended up me getting sacked. I think I probably told you that.
No, you didn't know. That was a detail I want to hear now, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll say it at some stage. Anyway, it was quite funny, but it wasn't. So he was doing this magazine, and he was editor. And basically, they didn't have a front cover with about 2 days to go. He said, we didn't have a front cover, and I wanted a star. It was a new magazine. Yeah. So he said, we were really struggling to get everyone. Yeah. And he said he either gave someone a ring, and there was this photographer who'd done a shoot with Amanda Holden when Amanda Holden was like Les Dennis's wife, and that was all she was known for, sort of thing, when he was the star. He got in touch with this photographer, and this photographer basically said, I took some photos of Amanda Holden, basically when she was a no one. You can have them for £1,000, and then because she's a bit.
They're the topless ones.
Yeah,
yeah.
And they were on this magazine, and said literally, it turned up whatever it was. I think it was basically just this was back in the 80s or 90s.
She did them professionally, just for reference, didn't she?
And this guy had like kept a copy.
Yeah.
And then sold it for this magazine, and of course he said launching with that was pure gold. And I think it's just.
Well, it's what achievement is judged by. There's an element of fame and renowned success. There's the success. We all have successes in the world. We don't always talk about them. Some don't always make the front covers of newspapers or magazines, or they don't touch the world of celebrity.
Maybe I'm being a bit self-deprecating then. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I don't. I'm not. Yeah, I don't.
But it was a little bit of a kind of our views on creativity were different, but our views on success are probably similar, is where I was going with this. Okay. In that you went, I don't think I'm successful. And I thought, oh, why not? Because I think you are. And then I tried to step out of myself and ask myself the same question.
And how would you answer it?
I'd probably gone,
But then I'd have a completely different view of you.
Exactly, which is kind of why I brought it up, because I thought that was kind of an
I was showing the interior shot of your office. I was showing to people as if, and a couple of people went, God, that looks like the inside of Google. And I was like picking you up. I went, it's literally like that. And he's got like...
Apart from having a slide from the floors.
I mean, you had like postmodernist light bulbs hanging down over a breakfast bar. I mean,
we have a bar. Yeah.
But you could have breakfast on it.
Yeah, no, you're right. Which for them, Yeah.
Okay. So everyone's successful. Well, everyone in this room.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I guess there was a point to where I was going with this, is that we have bars, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you judge success on?
When my paintings are selling for a couple of grand each, then obviously that's success to me.
Yeah, but all the things you've done, you've been to some really interesting places, you've met some interesting people, you've got some cracking stories. It's not like you haven't lived life. It's not that you're not still living life, but that to many, many people, again, it's all relative, isn't it? Who you talk to and who you're comparing yourself against. I guess where I'm trying to get to really badly is that we clearly set ourselves bars.
Yeah.
That are constantly, redundant very quickly, I think is, and we're constantly resetting it. Some people go, well, you've done really well and it's success. And I'm going, I feel like I'm just starting.
Yeah.
We're talking targets this week and, they're big numbers, but it feels like, things aren't in place. I'm not satisfied with, I know we can do it.
You're talking about for us or work?
I was going to say, I was talking about work, but it kind of applies to almost anything
I do. Well, that's
what
I thought. It was
literally anything I do. Everything, every time, every milestone feels like the start.
Well,
I know I'll never get there. I know I'll never get there.
That was the point I was going to say about knowing. So when we look at the viewing figures, and both of us have an interest, and I think or listening figures, the TV channel hasn't gone live yet. I think there is that feeling of, well, if they were double, would you feel happy? If they were quadrupled, if they were 100,000, if Harry and Meghan exceed our figures, are we going to be cross? Have you listened to their trailer?
What?
Prince Harry and, is it Harry? I don't even know, I'm so anti-royal. Is it Harry and Meghan?
Yeah, they're launching their first Netflix, are they? I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Are they in it?
They're doing a podcast.
Them? Oh, they're doing a podcast?
Yeah.
So it's not Netflix?
Well, let me get this right. So they gave up
Royal
Life because they didn't want to have all the attention and the press. So they've just signed a contract with Netflix, Spotify and Disney just to keep it on the lowdown.
I don't think it was about keeping it on the lowdown.
No.
I mean, they'd be daft if they're not going to use who they are in their position for
but
their
if you
own
don't
good
want to
and
be
the
open
greater
to
good,
public
right?
scrutiny.
I don't think, but I think that's in the context of the royal family.
But he's only got where he is because of the context of the royal family.
Of course.
He said bloody happy holidays. He said at the end of the trailer, happy holidays.
Right.
What
he's been non-denominational, wasn't he?
Well, no.
He was covering all bases. What you said happy holidays. What's the problem with that for?
101 reasons. What the fuck does happy holidays mean?
Have a nice holiday. Have a nice Christmas. Have a nice...
what, in the middle of a pandemic? It isn't.
You can still wish someone a good day, even though it's probably you're feeling shit, they might be feeling shit. You don't go have a fucking shit day, knobhead.
You wouldn't have had Victoria going...
What, Queen? Or was one of the Spice Girls? Who are we talking about? It's raining.
It's lovely, isn't it? No, I didn't like...
So Philip Schofield on the list with Harry, is he up there?
I just didn't like happy holidays.
I don't have a problem.
Do you know one person that says happy holidays?
No.
Well then. Okay.
Are you a Republican?
I don't know. I just do anything just to cause a bit of a stir, really.
This is your punk days,
Well, I've said to you, when I don't get my
God
MBE...
save the Queen, it's a fascist regime.
They made us into morons, was that... Yeah. So when I get my MBE, I'm not going to turn it down by post. I'm going to go and turn it down as they're about to give it to me.
So you're going to get all dressed up?
No, I'll go in my Oxford uniform.
Yeah. And go...
Yeah, I'm not going to bow. And you can...
Just when they get this...
You can keep that. Give that to charity, my love. No, I'm not royalist. I would never bow to anyone. I hate that idea. No, intensely hate the idea that one human being should pay respect to someone because a sperm and an egg happen to meet.
Oh, this is wonderful. But I'd like to cover the personality things because it's you're probably looking and go, it's not like horoscopes. But when you look at the traits of, I'm an INTJ, I don't know whether I said that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read these things out and just see if any of these match.
Okay.
Right?
Cool.
Seek alone time to avoid large groups of people.
Is this rank it? So out of 100, yeah. You didn't want a ranking, did you?
No, you can rank away.
Yeah, totally.
Sitting over there ranking on your own.
Up, down, top ranking.
Focus on bigger picture rather than the details.
Yeah.
Make logic-based decisions and follow intuition, although I'm probably 90% gut.
Those are two different things.
What?
Follow logic-based... Intuition and logic are two different things, surely.
Well, intuition is drawn
emotional,
on kind of...
Which is the opposite of logical.
Okay, right. Really glad I went to this.
Typical INTJ.
So I want to know what you are. Because I
bet you're bloody Aquarius as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
Shows.
Not that any of that matters to you.
No.
Set ambitious goals for themselves and others.
Ridiculous goals.
Pursue deeper understanding of complex topics.
To the nth degree.
So I think we might... And there's a big long list of stuff that we don't like.
Okay.
I won't... Do you want me to go into that?
No, long list is one thing
we'll save that, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, come back. is an empath. Need to rattle on.
Yeah.
Got a couple of episodes to get through. Doing our Christmas special next.
Mm.
Bum, ba, bum, bum, bum. Not exciting. Who thought we'd even get this far?
What, Christmas?
Yeah, well, in context of the podcast, not just in life.
Yeah.
But there's probably plenty of points this year where we've gone, will we ever make it?
Yes. Empath. I wonder if we looked at the same stuff, because we did this independently, didn't we?
Yeah. Let's just start off with what an empath is.
Can I just interrupt very
quickly? Of course
you
can.
I'm not going to interrupt much on this one.
No, never do.
I think it's worth saying this was probably the word that started this podcast.
Ooh.
So it's worth a mention, isn't it?
It is.
Am I right in that, do you think? Because I think this was the most notable thing of you coming back and going, you said that.
That's a good point, because I only discovered what one was at the beginning of this year, early Jan.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you learn something about these things. And I think there's a little bit of a caveat here, because there's so many things out there. There's listicles, isn't there? We've talked about listicles before. Almost every kind of condition.
Syndrome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of syndromes.
Yeah. Have a list of things, don't they? Traits. And that's the only way we can identify things. I was looking at some of my digest the other day, and I just got onto how lists are important to us as human beings.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's another thing we cover another day, but they're huge, and it's just a way we can, distill,
encapsulate,
and digest, isn't it? And it's obvious. It makes things easier to consume. It's eating an elephant. How'd you do it? Eat an elephant bit at a time, Mount? Yeah. So the caveat is that I think you can easily look at these things and get a bit like Dr. Google. Oh, I've got a pain in my leg. Is it any one of those things? And you could look at these lists and go, oh, shit, I'm going to die next week.
That's the other joke, isn't it? You type into Google, I've got a cold, and Google goes, it'll be your last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to kind of go, I've discovered what an empath was.
Yep.
Because you go through life, you feel stuff. And I don't know whether the last few years for me has been a kind of, has been a struggling with stuff. And then while you're starting to unpack that, you hear things or you see things. And then suddenly you read something and you go, oh my God.
Yeah. This has existed all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think although it's probably new this year, the more you've lived with it and understood it and digested it, and then it becomes that real time, this thing I'm doing right now, this thing I'm feeling right now is that thing.
Yes.
It's not just
it's got a handle, hasn't it?
Yeah. And I'm not alone in it.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of people talking about it, ways to live with it, handle it,
Mm-hmm.
not to fix it. Nothing is about that necessarily. Nothing ever be fixed. I think I've kind of worked that one out for myself. But then it applies a layer to everything that's gone before.
Yeah.
So when you look back in your life and you go...
Retrospectively, you can go, now I understand.
And you just almost kind of start lining them up.
Yeah.
All these these incidences. They could be traumatic incidences, relationship, friends, everything that happens to us in life. You start to go, that's why I did that. That's why I said that.
We are going to talk in the new year probably about various disorders and going deeper into mental health and things. But I think traits within humans are shared by everyone.
Yeah.
But it comes back, in my view, and this is a very amateur psychology view, is the traits are only of concern, as we mentioned with addiction, when they have dire consequences.
Yeah.
So everyone has obsessional thoughts and bits of OCD and bits of whatever.
Yeah.
It's when those take over that you then, in a position of the consequences of those, become dire. But I don't think any aspect of physical or mental health is unique to a group of people. It's just gradations of how much it affects you.
Yeah. So an empath is someone who is highly aware of the emotions of those around them, to the point of feeling those emotions themselves. Empaths see the world differently than other people. They are keenly aware of others, their pain points, and what they need emotionally. But it's not just emotions, according to Dr. Judith Orloff. Now, her book is good. I got it on my Kindle.
Right.
It's called The Empath Survival Guide.
Yeah.
But she says empaths can feel physical pain too, which is another eye-opener.
Yes.
People band around mental and physical almost as separate things.
Yeah. I think we're getting to the point that they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to make those connections, isn't it? And we talked about broken heart and melancholy and all that.
Gut wrenching. I think gut wrenching is my...
And you can make yourself sick from it.
Yeah.
Empaths can often sense someone's intentions or where they're coming from. In other words, empaths seem to pick up on many of the lived experiences of those around them. Many highly sensitive people, so HSPs, are also empaths. you start to get, you talked about gradation, you start to get kind of, and I'll come to the empathic spectrum in a minute, but there are many differences between empaths and HSPs, highly sensitive people. Having a degree of empathy is just one of the 4 traits that makes someone an HSP, and HSPs are sensitive to many kinds of stimuli, in addition to emotions. I might touch on that in a minute. It's likely that most empaths are highly sensitive, but not all highly sensitive people are necessarily empaths.
Yes, and one of the...
Very complicated world.
Very complicated. One of the things that clarified it for me in terms of empaths being different just from highly sensitive or from, I think it's the way that the feelings are processed. So if you're an empath, my understanding is that other people's pain and happiness becomes yours.
Yeah. It's not always negative.
No.
Yeah, you're right.
And you actively dive into their feelings and they seep into you.
Yeah. And I think the way I've kind of come across it is unknowingly.
Yes.
You don't, and we've talked about before, over time, these, small interactions, so you don't think anything of them.
Yeah.
You're taking it in instantly. And then over time, there's many of those interactions. There's a whole combination. There's different people. There's networks, isn't there?
Yeah.
Community's great, but there's a lot of energy going on there. And if you're taking on, you don't realize, you get to a point where you go,
you're overwhelmed.
Yeah. I've got a lot of baggage here.
Whether it's happiness or pain.
Yeah.
You have too much from other people.
And you can often look there and go, none of this seems to be me. I can't even get to my own feelings because I'm wearing everybody else's.
Yes.
And then it's only when like most of these things, the great thing about these things is I talk about unlocking doors. These things unlock doors and open doors.
Yeah.
And what you often find is there's another 10 doors.
Yeah. And you need to shut a few.
Yeah. And then that's kind of, I think, the bit where you realize, okay, this has made me aware. I can make sense of things that didn't make sense before. But this has given me a lot more questions than I have answers.
Yeah.
I think another little takeaway here in my experience is if you can just embrace that, i.e. you probably won't get to the door that is marked, this is the last door.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully not, because maybe your kind of whole, exploration of life ends.
But that's going back to the mindfulness, that the mindfulness is the sort of awareness of the present. It isn't mindfulness is not a solution. So what you've just described then is if you are mindful of what's happening and you're mindful of how you take on other people's emotions, that's fine.
Yeah.
But the mindfulness and, the breathing exercises and taking that time, meditation can take you to another place. Mindfulness is just processing, accepting and recognizing those thoughts.
Yeah.
Once you recognize them, they become more manageable.
And we touched on it, doesn't it? It doesn't necessarily bring peace.
No. Or solutions. Mindfulness isn't solution-based.
It's just 13 sides of an empath. I'm going to rattle through these.
Right. Well, because
as soon as I bring a listicle up, I can see your eyes go. Oh, your shoulders drop. And I'm like,
no. I've done the same.
Okay.
So we might have the same one.
One, you take on other people's emotions as your own, but essentially you're feeling the emotions of someone else, essentially absorbing or sponging it up. Number 2, sometimes you experience sudden, overwhelming emotions when you're in public. There's a big connection between introverts, empaths, highly sensitive people, and the other end of the scale, which I'll come to in a minute, is narcissists, which is quite an interesting one.
Yep.
Number 3, the vibe of a room matters to you a lot. You just sent me something yesterday, which was how introverts walk into a party. They walk in and they go into the corner and they get their phone out and they start laughing at their phone, but they're literally just looking at their calendar and flicking through their apps.
But did you look very closely? It was a brilliant video. Did you look very closely when they were going through the calendar?
No.
He'd got to 2043, which I thought was whoever did that meme was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. No, or looking at the weather. Yeah. It's about emotional noise. It's one of the phrases that they use for granted that you can actually take on sensitivities just on the vibe in the room.
Yeah.
Good or bad, yeah.
Number 4, you understand where people are coming from. The other bit of a caveat here is you don't have to get to a full 100% of these to go, yes, I'm an empath. You could have 4 of these. Yeah. It's not a competition.
No, I've got 14, but you're right. Some people aren't as good as me.
Number 5, people turn to you for advice.
That's the page I was on. Advice often becomes problems. It's 2 sides of the same coin, isn't it?
Yeah. Number 6, tragic or violent events on TV can completely incapacitate you. This was something I realised this year. I haven't been able to watch operations on animals.
Because of the hamster.
The hamster started it. Yeah. The Red Wedding in Game of Thrones.
I've never seen Game of Thrones.
I walked into the kitchen, put my arms on the counter and just went... And you think, okay, that's never happened before.
Yeah.
So number 7, you can't contain your love of pets, animals, or babies. Well, maybe not the babies, but that's just me. Number 8, you might feel people's physical illnesses too, not just their emotions. Now, there's a little bit here about empaths where traditionally you start to get into the kind of the psychics, the mediums, the kind of, the soothsayers.
Yeah.
I'm sensing you're unwell in your waters. Is anything wrong? I think you have a urinary infection.
Or leprosy.
Yeah. I don't think I've never say I had that, but there's a little bit of, I don't know. It says here, when someone is sick or injured, you might even go as far as to feel their ailment as if it's your own.
Yeah.
Again,
there's a little bit of confirmation bias there, isn't it? I'm not feeling very well. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But...
Number 9, you become overwhelmed in intimate relationships. 10, you're a walking lie detector. Don't know about that one, but it's not like, you're going around like Poirot or Columbo, is it?
No.
But number 11, you can't understand why any leader wouldn't put their teams first.
Yeah.
But I think that's a big one, is actually putting other people before yourself.
Yeah.
It's something...
And that relates back to the self-compassion.
And I'm not going, I'm an empath because I'm so giving and I'm so caring. That is not what I'm saying at all. It's easy to go, you feel so much, you're so full of caring. It's like, no, I'm not saying that. Because some of this stuff you don't want. Because it becomes incapacitating. It becomes overwhelming. It's too much. A lot of it's just going on inside. It doesn't mean you're Mother Teresa, I think that's important to say. 12, you have a calming effect on other people and the power to heal them. Again, a little bit of a stretch, but again, if you're someone who kind of, will put your own crap to the side, you've probably got the time and energy to put into somebody else. And empaths generally want everyone else to be okay before they actually start thinking about their own self-care. So
yeah, you can tell. It's do as I say, not do as I do, isn't it?
Yeah. You cannot see someone in pain without wanting to help. I think there's a natural thing about empaths who just want to reach out and kind of fix things.
Yeah.
There's the kind
rescuers.
Rescuers.
Footnote, when I was coming over, I've started listening to Sam Harris. I've forgiven him his crass stupidity, and I've started listening to past podcasts because the one that he was talking about had compassion in, and I thought it'd be relevant to this and the next pod. And the guy he was interviewing was saying about empathy, not just about empaths, but empathy generally, and was saying that there's a lot of evidence that it reduces with affluence. And he was giving the example that in the corporate world, as people get higher and higher, other people become commodities. Because either if they're not good enough, you can get someone else in because you've got the money to do that.
Yeah.
Or secondly, you don't need the adulation that you might do when you're starting off and the affirmation because you're successful. Going back to our bit about success. So if you're Bill Gates, you don't need anybody empathizing going, I understand how it is, Bill, because you can buy someone in to come and tell you that, or you can whatever. But the interesting thing was in the discussion they talked about the Davos Economic Forum.
Right.
And I was never too sure what that was made up of. So I've had a little look, and I think it's 1,000 people are invited to that. A lot of them are CEOs. And the guy
who's the World Economic Forum?
Yeah.
We said Davos Economic.
Davos is the...
Did you send me this yesterday?
No.
Do you follow Ivor Cummings? Has he put that video up about the World Economic Forum?
No.
Really?
Honestly. I literally did this.
And the World Economic Forum is pretty much made up of your biggest corporates in the world. And they're talking about the Great Reset now. Well, the Great Reset was a little bit of a conspiracy thing on the side. Now they've literally adopted it as their motto, which is fucking terrifying.
Along with, is it Building Better? Both Biden and Johnson were using that within a week of each other.
And because Ivor Cummings put it up, you go to the list, you go to the website, here's all our partners, and it's your Pfizer's, AstraZeneca's, PepsiCo, the biggest things you can think of. And they're all suddenly decided to sit round and do what they think is for the greater good.
Yeah. This was the point this guy was saying. And the Davos World Economic Forum, who attends it, it's the flagship event of the World Economic Forum, is the invitation-only annual meeting held at the end of January in Davos. Chief executives, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The guy on the podcast was saying, whoever decided that the world should be decided by these 1,000 people who are living in an echo chamber, that most of the world's, or a big proportion of the world's 3,000 billionaires, because there's 3,000 billionaires are there, what the fuck do they know about anything? And since when did the amount of money you have reflect common sense, knowledge?
Your morality.
Yeah. But we're being told and so we've got to the point of celebrity. We've got
this.
Yeah, because we're this rich. Yeah. We couldn't get this
We can
wrong.
fix everything.
Yeah. Yeah, because of our richness. So there's no empathy then to the suffering of...
We talk, there's all chat about world governments, isn't there? Who's actually running the, who's pulling the, someone telling US president what to do. And, and you think, well...
The US president who'd invested in Moderna earlier this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and who isn't taking the full amount of Pfizer vaccine because he's waiting for Moderna. Right. Quick quiz here. You'll know the answer by the intonation of my voice. How many drugs have Moderna had approved by the FDA?
Up to this point?
Yeah.
0?
This is their first.
Oh, congratulations.
Lucky.
Oh, well done. I mean, that's just perseverance, right?
Yeah.
And hard work.
I think they've only been
Good old-fashioned grit.
Yeah, they've only been going 10 or 11 years, so it's not a big thing, but it's like... Thank God that the first one we got right is curing a pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be in it to win it, haven't you?
Maybe we'll have a go if it's that easy.
yeah, right. Blimey, that's another bookmark for another day. The World Economic Forum, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a club I'm not part of, by the way.
Well, you're a CEO.
Well,
what title do you use for your
this is a discussion
expanding empire?
This is a discussion at the moment. We're thinking of, it's called the C-suite, isn't it? CEOs, CTOs, COOs.
Okay.
I'm struggling with the whole thing.
So go on then. What's on your card? As an introvert, this is my business card.
As an introvert, this is incredibly
Damien,
difficult to talk
go
about.
Away. I don't want to
Leave
talk.
me alone. Shut the door after you.
Contact numbers not available.
Just hand just a blank card.
Yeah.
I have been creative director for a long time. Mm-hmm. I'm currently founder. I'm probably happy with that.
Yeah.
A little bit woolly. Yeah. A little bit. They just sat in the back, taking the piss.
If you want to get to Davos, I think you're going to have to be CEO.
Right. I just wanted to. There's loads of things to talk about there. I just wanted a couple of things to tick off. The empathic spectrum. You've got narcissists on the end, and you've got loving, empathic people, HSPs, highly sensitive people, and then you've got empaths at the other end. Being a highly sensitive person and an empath are not mutually exclusive. One can be both, and many highly sensitive people are also empaths. If you think about this distinction in terms of empathic spectrum, empaths are on the far end, highly sensitive people are a little further in. People with strong empathy who are not HSPs or empaths are in the middle, and narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths who have empathic deficient disorders. Jesus, we're not going to be short of material, are we? Are at the opposite end. I just wanted to cover that off. All links will be in our show notes. And an empath's nerves can be easily frayed by noise, smells, or excessive talking. The same way they might be sensitive to emotions of others, they might also experience a sensitivity to light, sound, and smell.
Similar to
that is bang on
people with autism have a very increased sense in a lot of cases of noise. Right. Sometimes when they're out in a crowded public place, they're hearing more noises, evidently. So
it kind of hopefully joins the circle up when you talk about people coming into the room and turn the light on.
Yes, exactly.
And, in the office, I just have the uplighters on where I can. In here, I hate having these spotlights on because it's just...
and that is interesting.
Like this now is fine for me.
Yeah, because you went to me at the beginning. It was the amount of light in this room. The majority of people who had gone, this needs a light. Yeah. The way you said it to me was like, I'm quite happy not there to be a light. Yeah. But if you want one, you can have one. Rather than
you can have a little one. Like you got.
Yeah. Rather than you going to and go, I'm just going to switch the lights on because it's dark, and making an assumption that we all have the same. And
sometimes I can tolerate bright light less than other times. Smells is a massive one.
Yeah.
No one likes a loud noise. No one likes the of a bus, do they, when you're walking down? But being startled by alarms, or I've got a fire alarm that goes off every Wednesday at work. We know it's coming.
Yeah.
You could argue a lot of people are like that, but you suddenly, things that I guess ordinarily you'd think, that's nothing to be worked up about, suddenly becomes a massive anxiety. So yeah, I think there's two things that kind of woke me up in the last few years. The personality test, the Myers-Briggs thing, when you suddenly understand, even just about being an introvert, that was new to me about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Then it got to the point where I did the Myers-Briggs test. I came out and went, oh God, I'm an introvert. I think I can't remember what I said to it. I said, I'm an introvert. And they went, yeah. I was like, what? It was not a surprise to anyone else, but it was a big surprise to me.
Yeah.
So again, labeling isn't that important, but it can open up a whole new load of interesting kind of places to explore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then secondly, it was kind of the empath thing, which they're all very closely linked.
Yeah.
But they've really helped me kind of go, oh, that's why I do that.
Good.
I think this kind of probably ties up the kind of couple of things we talk about. We've talked about up till this point, which especially kind of in the context of the last podcast and what we've just talked about, if you find it hard to always be up, energetic, positive, motivated, then as hard as it feels or as difficult as it is to process that an outcome might not match up to your high standards, just push through anyway, but in a way that is comfortable to you. There's lots of things out there. There's lots of podcasts that people just go, just do, the Nike kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Well, we all know it. And I
Carpe diem.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I know. And I think we're very wary of that. It's so easy to go, when you're feeling a little bit sad, just get the fuck on with it. It's like, it's not always that
Pull
hard.
yourself together.
Yeah, it's not. Yes, we understand what they're saying and some, but there's a million ways to do that. So I think, push on in a way that is, and it's okay just to go, forget it. It's okay just to kind of go, I'm not going to do it today.
Yeah.
We've talked about the now year's resolution. We're saying just do it now, but we also recognize it's okay just to stop.
Yeah.
And give yourself a bit of a break. But I think it's important to, if you're going to push on, to do it in your way, do it in a comfortable way, whether it's on your own, whether it's someone else, whether you want to keep it to yourself or whether you want to tell the world that you're doing it. Back to the kind of publishing your ideas and creativity and stuff. The way we were in the last episode, what we talked about, and then this, hopefully kind of a nice little tying up with a bow.
Okay.
And then the now year resolution. I guess, have we moved anything on? Me and you.
Explain again.
Have we done anything? Have we taken our own advice?
Oh, okay.
Because the other part of this is you came in and I said, have you done your painting? You went, no, I haven't done time. It's like, well, yeah, it's difficult to find time, isn't it? To carve a decent amount of time out, especially to do something that you wouldn't already.
I think I was clear. I think I was clear in the podcast that I was putting the fishing rod was out for a Christmas present, and then post Christmas, that's when the painting's going to start.
It's quite a risky strategy. Could easily end up with no one giving you anything, couldn't it?
Could do. Or I could be bombarded.
With the whole feast of stationery.
Yeah, all our listeners, everyone. It's just like that guy in Texas. I forget his name.
Yeah.
He just happens to run an art shop.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The week up to Christmas can be difficult for all sorts of people, can't we? We haven't got into kind of time, guilt, and kind of expectation of that might come in the next one. But it's a very difficult time, is it, emotionally?
Yeah.
Some people are handling not being with their relatives really well. Mm-hmm. Some people are jumping up and down going, woo, to see those nutters.
Yeah.
And combinations thereof.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't know about anyone else, but at work is difficult because one, I'm still going to the office, but it's an empty office.
Yeah.
And you just want to, and there's lots of things not finished because people have gone on holiday and there's no one there to talk to.
Yeah.
And some things can't be talked to over a video conference. And it's that frustrating thing where I either just check out, but I can't because we've already talked about that as kind of our nature. I need to kind of kick on and I'm having that kind of frustration. So it's like, I've got plenty of things I need to get done in order before I can set the time aside to do my extracurricular activities. Yeah. So I don't think I'm alone in that. It's not for the want of trying and it's not an excuse. I just am. I think I said to you, time poor this week.
Yeah.
I feel very, very time poor. But I'm trying to do little things. Like I said, talking to people about writing.
Yeah.
I've moved that on a little bit just in terms of finding references. I've kicked on an email with my writer friend who's given me did I tell you he sent me a big critique of my digests?
No.
I was expecting maybe, try this, which is amazing. He must have spent a couple of hours doing it. It was incredible.
Fair play.
So, and he said, don't take this as criticism, talking about criticism in the last one. He said, don't take this as criticism because you could easily look at it and go, oh my God, he's ripping the shit out of this. But he said, this is the stuff I wish I'd known 1 or 2 years ago in my writing. So I think that hopefully kind of wraps up what we were talking about last time about sharing, kicking things around, that they might feel like small actions. I've just emailed him and it took me less than a minute to email him 4 pieces of writing. Yeah. And he's come back with that. We touched on it ages ago, didn't we, about either paying someone to do things so you have use your time in an effective way by getting other people to help you. We've talked about the aphids and ants. Yeah. I think all these things are starting to come together, which I feel really comfortable about.
Which,
do you know what I mean?
Which is why I've been really quiet, because I've just suddenly recognised as you've been talking, I don't think my resolution is a list of targets or a list of things I wish to tick off in that sense, in terms of measurable things. I think what it is, just listening to you speak, is that it's around learning and understanding. Yeah. And I think the way that I'm going to better myself is either to understand myself better. So the talking you were saying about the empath, the more I'm doing at the moment, I'm recognizing, and again, this isn't the bit of that you then fall into a stereotype because you read something, goes, oh, that's me, and therefore I'm now defined by that type.
Yeah, that's important to say, actually. You don't have to like I said, you can be 7 out of those 13.
Exactly.
You can be 3. You don't have to go and find those others and try and live them.
I think the point I'm making is if through learning you discover things, and then don't just take that as set in stone, as that's where you are, but looking how you can either build on that or it might be removing that. There's a couple of things that I know I'm doing at the moment, which I've only got to understand through mindfulness, is that I am so incredibly willful that my willfulness seeps through every element of my life. And I'm just realizing that now. Talking about little ways of finding this out. I put croissants in the oven and I set it for 6 minutes. It only needs to be set for 4.5. And I knew that. As we know, I'm a professional chef.
Yeah.
In my head, I went, I don't know why I set it for 6 minutes. Like literally standing there, I don't know why I set it for 6 minutes. And then I walked away and made a coffee or tidied or whatever.
I don't know why I did that, but I'm leaving it.
Yeah. And when I came back, it was a little bit overdone.
Funny that.
My willfulness was almost, well, you've made that decision. Just stick with it. Just go with it.
But you didn't have the will to change it.
I didn't have the will to change it. I could have just stretched across and changed the timer. And that to me showed a willfulness not to necessarily adapt or change, and a stubbornness in that I've made this decision, I'm going to stand by it. So one of the things about the mindfulness is about that awareness of now is me just sort of saying, okay, a little bit of learning here. You've got the control and the power to change that, and you've chosen not to. So everything's a choice.
It's not a monumental task to do it.
No.
It can be a very small thing that actually makes a big difference.
But what was overriding the tiny bit of stretching out and changing the timer was something in my ganglia or wherever part of my brain was operating that was just going, no, this is what you do. Your thoughts are right. So there was a reason you put 6 minutes on. Your thoughts are facts. Live with the consequences.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of resolutions, I'm not using that word resolution. I think what I want to do is to learn more about myself, to learn more about people, and to be more effective in the things I do. But now.
That's why we call them the now years resolutions. It's not about, we're not talking about what we're going to be doing in January.
No.
We're talking about what we're doing right now to change those things.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that ties in nicely because I was saying they don't need to be big things.
No.
I've sent 2 emails and I pushed the peanut on more than I ever thought I would.
Yes.
In terms of the response that I got back.
Yeah. That might sound a little bit ethereal because there's going to be the whole pressure. We talked about this Christmas and New Year bingo when we know everything's going to be. We know, for example, we know on January the 1st, someone on TV is going to go, bloody cream eggs are in the shops.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. It doesn't matter. They're in the shops because people eat them. There's going to be pressure. People will ask you, what you made any new resolutions? And people will come out with something. They haven't sat down and thought about it.
No.
We're having time to consider. We're having a conversation that is making us think about what we're going to set. There's a website set up by a group that's called 80,000 hours. 80,000 hours, roughly give or take, is how many hours you spend working.
Right.
And one of the things that came out from a guy who's involved with this website was saying, if you book a meal, at the very least, you will spend 1% of your time doing something towards booking that meal. You go on a website.
Yeah.
You'll decide where you want to eat.
Yeah.
You'll decide what time you want to eat. You'll consult with whoever's coming with you and you'll book a table.
Yeah.
And then you might arrange an Uber.
Yeah.
So even if, and that's more than 1%, because the meal's only going to take 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that's taken 15 minutes.
Sure.
But he's saying, for the sake of it, to book a meal, 1% of the time is sorting that meal, planning and thinking about it. Do any of us spend 800 hours thinking and planning our careers and putting things in order and working out what we're going to do?
Absolutely. Yeah.
We just do it by the seat of our pants. Even if we just spend 1% of our time thinking about how our lives can be better or how we can feel better or how we can react better to others, then it's worth it. It doesn't have to be going to the gym, giving up carbs, not having alcohol for January, for fuck's sake. Just one person in the next 2 weeks will probably ask all of us any New Year's resolutions. I would suggest that's really likely that someone will go, have you made any? And so I guess the tie-in is come up with something that will make them think instead of going, I'm joining a gym. Give them something to think.
Something different to think about.
Yeah. Say, I'm going to learn stuff. I'm going to get better.
That's it for this episode. Well done for getting this far, and thanks for listening. All links and references will be in our show notes. Please make sure you subscribe to us via your favourite podcasting app. And if you're enjoying this pod, then please do tell a friend and help us spread the word. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, then please do leave us a 5-star rating and or review, as it really helps being found around. Just,
everyone's gone.
Yeah, no one gets this far, do they?
No. I've got a really good story though for the last two people.
Have you? Right? Yeah.
No, I haven't.
We'll do that after the music, right?
We could put on all the outtakes.
So we'll see you in our Christmas special.
Yeah.
See ya.
Happy Yuletide.